I remember exactly where I was when I found out. Standing in my kitchen at 7:43 in the morning, still in my pajamas, one hand wrapped around a mug of coffee that hadn't fully cooled, the other scrolling through my phone with the half-awake laziness of someone expecting nothing important. My daughter Lily was sitting at the breakfast table behind me, carefully cutting her toast into triangles the way she always did, humming something tuneless and sweet. My son Marcus, 12 and already too cool to sit still, was doing slow laps around the kitchen island, pretending he wasn't waiting for his waffles. It was an ordinary Tuesday. It's the cruelest thing about the moments that change you. They always arrive on ordinary days, wearing ordinary clothes, giving you no warning to brace yourself. The family group chat had a new message. I tapped it without thinking. It was from my sister Dana, a bright, exclamation-pointed announcement about a family beach trip to the Outer Banks. She listed every name, our parents, our aunt and uncle, our cousins and their spouses, our brother Tyler, and his whole family, kids included. My name was not there. My children's names were not there. I read it twice, then a third time slowly, the way you reread something when your brain simply refuses to accept what your eyes are seeing. I counted the names like a person counting money their sure has been stolen, hoping somehow the total will change. It didn't change. The coffee in my hand went cold. I didn't notice. My mother had been in that chat for 6 hours already and had said nothing to me. Not a call, not a side text, not a single word of warning. The decision had been made, discussed, and finalized among people who share my blood, and not one of them had thought I deserved to know. I set the mug down very carefully on the counter, the way you handle something when you're afraid that if you move too fast, everything fragile inside you will shatter all at once. "Mom, are you okay?" Lily asked from behind me. 8 years old and already more emotionally perceptive than most adults I knew. "I'm great, baby," I said. My voice was completely steady. I have always been good at that, holding the earthquake inside where no one can see it. But this one, I knew, was going to take everything I had to keep still. Most people think revenge requires anger. They imagine it as something loud, a confrontation, a cutting speech, the satisfying crash of a well-timed humiliation. I understood the appeal. There was a version of this story where I called Dana and said every sharp, honest thing sitting in my throat, where I forced a family reckoning and demanded acknowledgement of what had been done. I didn't do that, not because I was weak, I want to be clear about that, but because I had learned something important about myself in the years since my divorce. My energy was finite and precious. I would not spend it screaming into a void at people who had already proven they weren't listening. What I would do instead was build something so beautiful, so undeniable, that the contrast alone would say everything words never could. I had 9 weeks before the end of July. I opened my laptop and I started planning. I am a project manager by profession. I build complex timelines for a living, coordinate moving parts, anticipate problems before they arrive. I brought every one of those skills to this. I made spreadsheets. I researched destinations with the same focused intensity I bring to a product launch. I read reviews, compared costs, and thought carefully, not about what would look impressive, but about what my children would actually remember when they were grown. I booked a private villa in Tulum, Mexico. 3 bedrooms, a private pool overlooking the ocean, a terrace where you could eat breakfast while watching the sun rise over the water. Hand-woven textiles, handmade pottery, a jar of fresh wildflowers the property manager replaced every other day. It cost exactly what I would have contributed to Dana's beach house rental. Then I booked the whale shark snorkeling, the private cenote tour, a cooking class at a family-run restaurant where a woman named Rosa would teach us her 4-generation mole recipe, a sunset catamaran, a private guided tour of the Tulum ruins designed specifically for children. I told no one, not a single person. I went quiet in the way I have learned is far more powerful than noise, the kind of silence that other people fill with their own assumptions, usually wrong ones. I wasn't hiding. I was building, and what I was building, no one could take from us. The last week of July arrived quietly, the way all long-anticipated things do, almost sneaking up, as if it hadn't been living in the back of my mind for 9 weeks straight. My family departed for the Outer Banks on a Saturday morning. I knew, because my cousin Jessie, who had always been kind to me and found the whole situation quietly uncomfortable, sent me a screenshot of the vacation chat without comment. Sunrise emojis. Beach umbrella icons. My mother had sent a string of seashells. My father, who rarely texted anything, sent a single thumbs up. Everyone accounted for. Everyone present. Everyone except us. I spent that Saturday doing laundry and packing. I spent Sunday making a playlist for the flights. What I felt was not what I had expected to feel. Not bitterness. Not the sharp edge of exclusion. What I felt was a low, steady hum of anticipation. The particular calm of someone who knows exactly what is coming because they built it themselves. Tuesday morning, Marcus arrived at 5 a.m. with his backpack already packed and his whale shark book tucked under his arm. Lily came with her hair in 2 braids and a small notebook she had designated her expedition journal. They were so entirely, perfectly themselves that I had to look away for a moment to keep my composure. We flew to Cancun and took a shuttle south as the landscape shifted from resort sprawl to jungle. The road narrowed. The trees grew tall and dense on both sides. Lily pressed her face against the van window and watched everything with enormous, serious eyes. Marcus pretended to be too cool to do the same, then kept leaning over her to look anyway. The villa appeared at the end of a white gravel road lined with flowering trees. When we walked through the door and saw the private pool and the ocean stretching wide and blue, beyond it, all 3 of us went completely silent. Then Lily said, very softly, "Oh, Mom," and that was the only review I needed. We dropped our bags and went straight to the water. We ate lunch on the terrace, ceviche, cold watermelon juice, warm tortillas. The ceiling fans turned slowly overhead. The ocean did what oceans always do, which is make every other problem feel appropriately small. That evening, Marcus looked up and saw the Milky Way with his own eyes for the very first time. He stopped running and just stood there, his face turned toward the stars, 12 years old and full of something larger than himself. I watched him and thought, they will carry this day for the rest of their lives. And no one, not Dana, not silence, not exclusion, could ever reach up there and take it back. I posted the photographs on a Wednesday evening, the 4th night of our trip, while my children were asleep and the ocean was doing its slow, dark breathing beyond the terrace. I had thought carefully about whether to post at all. I am not someone who uses happiness as a weapon, but my therapist once told me there is a real difference between performing joy to wound someone and simply allowing your joy to be visible. The first is about them. The second is about you. I posted because my children deserved to be seen, because we had done extraordinary things and I had nothing to hide and nothing to be ashamed of, and I would not shrink myself to keep someone else comfortable. 8 photographs. The villa terrace at sunrise, Lily suspended in blue water beside the whale shark, her small body dwarfed by something ancient and enormous and entirely gentle. Marcus at the cenote, his face wearing pure amazement. Both of them flower-dusted and grinning in Rosa's kitchen, holding up their tortillas like hard-won trophies. The catamaran at sunset. The ruins at golden hour. And the last one. Marcus looking up at the Milky Way, his face turned toward the stars, caught in a moment of wonder so complete it almost hurt to look at. The caption was 8 words, just the 3 of us. We thrived. My phone began vibrating within 12 minutes, and I left it face down on the table. My mother called 30 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail and listened to it sitting alone on the terrace with a glass of wine. She was crying, not dramatically, but in that restrained, effortful way she has when she is trying very hard to hold something back and losing. She said she should have called. She said she didn't know what she had let happen. She said, those babies. I called her the next morning. We had the conversation 2 months overdue. Honest, quiet, without theatrics. She was ashamed. I could hear it in every pause. I told her that whatever existed between Dana and me was not my children's fault, and that if it happened again, I would respond exactly the same way. She laughed through what was left of her tears. Dana called on our last day. She explained rather than apologized, which is her nature. I let her finish, then said what needed saying, calmly and completely, and hung up. On the flight home, Lily looked up from her expedition journal and told me this was the best trip of her entire life. I believed her. I had built it to be exactly that, something no one could touch, something that lived now permanently inside my children, bright and unassailable as stars.